the shadows of power, every transaction leaves a scar. Ledger strike.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar went from $65,000 in debt to millions in assets in just 5 years. Her husband's mysterious investment firm has no clients, no active SEC registration, yet somehow jumped from $51,000 to $33 million in value overnight. They own a winery that produces no wine. House Oversight Chairman James Comer is now investigating, but Omar just laughing it off. How does someone accumulate this kind of wealth on a government salary? Now, it's not just about one corruption or a corrupt politician. This exposes the entire swamp system. While hardworking Americans struggle with inflation and rising costs, our elected officials are getting mysteriously rich. Omar's financial records could reveal a web of corruption that goes far beyond Minnesota. If she's using her position for personal gain, every vote she's cast becomes suspect. Her influence on immigration policy, foreign aid, and committee assignments takes on new meaning when money's involved. So this investigation could uncover how the establishment protects its own while ordinary citizens get investigated for far less. The double standard is staggering. Try to explain sudden wealth to the IRS and see what happens. Speaking of financial mysteries, while everyone's focused on Omar's millions, something massive just happened that could make early investors pretty wealthy. You see, the Trump administration quietly released a document that could completely reshape America's mining sector. This is not speculation. This is happening right now under Executive Order 14241. While Omar gets rich off mysterious business deals, President Trump is securing America's economic future through domestic mining initiatives. An official government report reveals critical mineral shortages that threaten our national security. We're dangerously dependent on China for materials essential to our defense systems, smartphones, and electric grids. This executive order prioritizes American mining companies like Vizsla Copper, positioning them at the forefront of this national security imperative. This is not just about mining, it's about breaking China's stranglehold on critical resources. Smart investors are paying attention because when national security meets business opportunity, fortunes are made. Unlike Omar's shadowy wealth accumulation, this opportunity is transparent and patriotic, and there is an exclusive full briefing that has been prepared just for you if you want to take action. Now back to the corruption scandal. Here's what makes this even more suspicious. Reports suggest money was used to buy resorts in Kenya, apartments in Nairobi, and properties in Turkey. How does $650 million, flow through a Minneapolis airport TSA? The same agency that confiscates water bottles somehow missed hundreds of millions in financial transfers. Omar's dismissive response to the investigation tells you everything. She claims the money comes from her husband's consulting work. But consulting for whom? With no known clients and no active registration, what is he exactly consulting on? Brian D'Amato writes, supporting criminals, Omar is going to prison. The real question is, Ayanna going with her? It was incredible tour. Central Minnesota with Representative Presley, the longest-standing Latino-serving organization in our state. They're doing incredible work supporting Minnesotans. Yes, more propaganda from the left. Ilhan Omar out there, public relations tour. The accusation sets up perfectly for the investigation that are now coming to light. Liberty Nation Oversight Committee's investigation into Ilhan Omar's husband. U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar's husband, Timothy Mynett, reportedly saw the value of his business grow from $51,000 to $30 million in a single year. But where did the money come from? That's the big question. Now we're getting into the meat of what caught the investigators' attention. The astronomical jump in business value demands explanation. Ghost Cowboy, the House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, publicly announcing a panel he leads is actively digging into Ilhan Omar's financial records, especially after those eye-popping disclosures about her husband's company skyrocketing in value overnight. Comer's public announcement shows this is not speculation. An official probe with real oversight power into Ilhan Omar. Comer says he's looking into the finances of Ilhan Omar. Well, Omar ridicules the probe. She says the bulk of their money comes from her husband's consulting work and a joint investment in a California wine company. Oh, we've covered the wine company. Yeah, one of the bottles of wine they produce, the Devil's Lie. Benny Johnson just went to their website and made a little video. You can't even buy the wine on the website. You go to the address that's marked or listed on the Google Maps, and it just shows up like an empty building. We've seen that play out before, right, Nick Shirley? Notice how Omar's dismissive response contrasts sharply with the mounting evidence that we are about to see. Chicago One Ray, the money stolen bought resorts in Kenya, apartments in Nairobi, properties in Turkey, and luxury cars. $650 million went right through the TSA at the Minneapolis airport. This guy says he went to Florida, couldn't take a bottle of water through. Where are the arrests of Walls and Omar and Ellison? That's what I want to know too.
Who led these prosecutions for years stated that the estimated fraud is $9 billion. And this doesn't count fraud in SNAP or child care programs. So where's the money going? Minnesotans pay their taxes and they expect their money to go to things that help their communities. Roads, schools, healthcare, and not to be taken by criminals, to buy resorts in Kenya, apartments in Nairobi, property in Turkey, or luxury homes and cars in the U.S. Worse yet, Minnesota taxpayers have allegedly found their ways into the hands of terrorist organizations like Al-Shabaab, both directly and indirectly. The money is walking out the door at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. Back in 2017, the estimate was about $100 million in cash was going out annually from our airport. According to TSA, in 2024, there were $340 million in cash outbound, and in 2025, it was $350 million. This is astonishing, not only because of the amount, but because it is so out of proportion to other airports. The cash out of Minneapolis is 99% higher than cash going out of Dallas, Atlanta, and JFK in New York. It's 90% higher than what's going out of Seattle. Minnesotans are incredibly frustrated that their hard-earned money is being siphoned off by criminals while their taxes keep going up and vulnerable citizens don't get the services they need.
The American people being fleeced day in and day out. The escalation from the financial discrepancies into the alleged international money laundering is exploding. Anyone else getting tired of Ilhan Omar? Nancy H. writes, arrest and deport her already.
I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm getting real sick and tired of this little lady.
The idea that this is a white nation that needs to be preserved is a fascinatingly disgusting view, because this country is one for the many.
Let me tell you something, bitch. Nobody's saying America has to be one skin color, but every nation on earth has a culture worth protecting. Funny how preserving identity is beautiful everywhere else. Japan does it, Mexico does it, even Somalia does it. But when America does it, it's disgusting. This ain't about no race. You snuck into this country and now you're trying to erase standards and history. America is an idea. And ideas only survive when people are brave enough to stand up and defend it. If every nation deserves an identity, then why is America the exception? We're not just gonna let you come up in here and switch up the rules to benefit only your people. So listen up, America, I need you to listen good. We need to vote these people out of power. Because you see what they're starting to do. They're starting to talk message. They think they're gonna take over something. Because when a country isn't allowed to remember who it is, that means someone else will decide for it. And history shows that never ends peacefully.
Joey Gilbert, Nevada. Calls for arrest show public anger is building, but wait to see what Fox News investigators uncovered. Yes, it is getting worse for Ilhan. Fox News doing their own investigation into the sudden wealth accumulated after she got into Congress. Let's listen.
Chad, thank you. And focus now. Kaylee McGee White, a Fox News contributor. Look, there's a whole lot of money on Capitol Hill, both sides of the aisle. And you could say that you want to follow all the money trail. Look at the Shush Fund years ago, where women were being quieted for some of the discrimination that was going on in the Hill. So we get that. This is a very specific case. Why is that?
Yeah, I was doing a bit of research into Tim Mynett, Ilhan Omar's husband's various businesses, and his investment firm, it has no known clients, no known investment deals. It doesn't even have an active SEC registration. And his winery, which is also purportedly making him millions of dollars per year, has no online presence. It has no marketable products available for purchase online. And get this, back in 2024, an investor into that winery actually sued Mynett and his business partners, alleging that they had fraudulently misrepresented the winery as a legitimate business operation. So yeah, maybe there's a version of events here in which, of course, all of this is conveniently timed with his wife's election to Congress and her growing considerable influence in the Democratic Party. And maybe there is a version of events in which Ilhan Omar and her husband have just been extremely fortunate. But in that case, you would think that Ilhan Omar might be a bit more appreciative for this country in the ways in which it's aided her success. But I look at these events and I think they have cracked the Hunter Biden playbook. And I think that there are many other people in Washington, D.C. who watched the success of the influence peddling scheme that the Biden family ran. And more importantly, they saw that the Biden family faced zero consequences for that scheme. And they decided to try and replicate the results themselves. So I do hope that James Comer is successful at cracking what is actually going on here, because I think that she's probably not the only one in Washington with some considerable wealth to answer for.
Look, that's exactly where I started. There's a whole lot of money on Capitol Hill. And
yeah, there is. Ilhan Omar collecting a sizable amount of it. James Comer says that Ilhan Omar's financial records are being investigated by his committee over ethics because they lack jurisdiction over her husband's businesses. Listen.
Why are you targeting her when there is a Ilhan Omar, your committee investigation with Ilhan Omar, when there is a process in the House, if people have questions about their conduct, this would go through the Ethics Committee. Why is this under
and I've spoken, I'm glad you asked that question. I've spoken with the Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee has jurisdiction over members of Congress. The two businesses in question are owned by Ms. Omar's husband. So the Ethics Committee does not have jurisdiction over a spouse, only a member. So that's why we just asked, we would have questions. I don't think anyone would.
But it would pertain to her overall finances, because that is listed on her financial disclosure report. Even though that's
we've run this by the Ethics Committee, and we think this is the appropriate route.
Yeah, see, they don't have jurisdiction over Ilhan, but they certainly do over Mynett, right? And they ran it by the Ethics Committee, and that's the path forward. Fox's investigation is adding credibility to the financial red flags, and the details are damning. Kentucky Girl writes, Ilhan Omar must be investigated and arrested. She went from being $65K in debt to having millions of dollars in just 5 years. She has a winery with no wine. Her husband has an investment firm with no clients, no active SEC legislation, not even on legacy media. So, friends, this is the swamp in action. A woman who came to America as a refugee is now worth millions after just 5 years in Congress, laughing at investigations while Americans can't afford groceries. Her husband's phantom businesses magically became worth $30 million overnight. If this is not corruption, what is? The evidence is overwhelming, but will anyone be held accountable, or is this just another case of Democrat privilege protecting the untouchables? The House Oversight Committee investigation into Ilhan Omar's finances represents everything wrong with our two-tiered justice system. While ordinary Americans face IRS audits over minor discrepancies, Democrat politicians accumulate mysterious millions without consequences. Omar's journey from bankruptcy to wealth coincides perfectly with her congressional tenure, yet she mocks legitimate questions about phantom businesses and unexplained assets. This is not just about one corrupt politician. It's about whether laws apply equally to everyone or just the little people. James Comer deserves credit for pursuing this investigation, despite inevitable media attacks and Democrat obstruction. The American people deserve answers about how their representatives become millionaires on government salaries. Do you believe Omar's wealth came from legitimate business activities, or is this obvious corruption? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to check out the Next News merch shop for gear that shows you stand with America First Patriots fighting the swamp.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.